That's pretty good. Cool. Do we have anybody else joining us? Is Mayor coming?
He said he's not making it.
He's not going to make it. Okay, that's what he had told me as well. All right. Cool beans. Weird. All right. It is three. No, not yet. Sorry, we have to wait till 4 o'clock. My fault.
Oh, okay.
We have one more minute. That's rare. We're early.
Never early.
It's all right. You're all right.
We're gonna get to be at 5, because I'm doing a live stream.
I'm doing a presentation for
At the library. So many things going on all tonight.
We good now, Omar? Perfect. All right, it is 4 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting of the Economic Development Corporation to order. Blanca, if you don't mind establishing quorum.
Kieran Cobain, President.
Present.
Roland Gomez, Vice President.
He said he was joining via Zoom.
He's not.
He hasn't logged on yet? Okay.
Veronica Gonzalez, Secretary.
Present.
Aaron Ronnie Rivera, Treasurer.
Present.
Daniel Danby as Council Member.
Present.
Sabrina Walker Hernandez, Director.
Present.
Raul Resendez, Director. And we have quorum.
Excellent. All right, if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you don't mind certifying the public notice.
The notice was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act on July 8th at 12:05 p.m.
Perfect. And Omar, if you don't mind explaining the conflict of interest disclosure.
So under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a director or certain members of that director's family have a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. If there is a conflict of interest, that director cannot participate in the discussion or vote on the item. Are there any conflicts of interest to disclose?
No.
No.
All right, thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, agenda item 4. Do we have anybody who registered for public comments? Anybody online or in person that would like to make any public comments? All right. Closing public comments. Moving on to agenda item 5, regular agenda items. Agenda item 8, discuss regarding the structure of the Edinburgh Economic Development Corporation. I'd like to entertain a motion to move this item to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hands. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Agenda item B, our meeting times have kind of been all over the place. I know today's a special meeting, but I wanted to offer the board and get on the record for everyone for all future meetings. We usually have it at 4, but I know we've had it at 4:30, 5, and 5:30 in the past. So I think between those 4 items, I'd like to get votes from everybody on what time y'all would like to have our meetings, just so we can get it officially. I don't know, Sabrina, if you want to start?
Well, let me start.
Yeah,
Just
start, go.
something I've mentioned several meetings. I don't know why we're still talking about this. City Council, of course, has enacted Code of Ethics that applies to all boards. We want to be transparent. We want to have all meetings after 5:30 or 6 so that we can let the public show up. We don't want any hidden agendas. People always say that if you have a special meeting or a meeting at noon, a meeting before people can attend, we're trying to be completely transparent. We're trying to get all boards to meet at 6 o'clock. That's my take on it, and I just need to put that out there. 4 o'clock is too early. Most people work till 5:30 if they want to come and be part of our meetings or say something. They can't do it if we keep doing it before 6 o'clock.
I'd like to also share a comment regarding that, and that is that I've had a couple of calls from people and citizens that kind of don't get off of work till 5 o'clock. And I think that in order to try to give them the opportunity to attend these meetings, I think that we need to, I'm going to recommend that we have the meetings at 5:30. And that way it gives everybody ample time to get here. And if they get here a little late, they'll still, if they got to work at 5, they can still try to make it and not by 6 o'clock, it should be here. We should still be able to hear us, at the meeting. So I'm going to recommend 5:30 in the meeting.
Yeah, and I want to add that 4 o'clock would work great for me. I've never missed my son's baseball games, and I've missed his games on Tuesdays now. So I'm not doing it for me. I'm missing more baseball games, but just trying to keep it uniform with the city.
Understood. Sabrina, Veronica?
I mean, I work till 5, but of course I agree to do this, and so my boss will let me take off early if I need to do these meetings. It's rare, I don't know that it's very rare that we have public comment, we know that. And there's always been an option, people can call in as well. So I do know our meetings have tended to run very long, and some, in fact, the last one I think went till after 10 at night. And that's tough sometimes on schedules as well. I can live with whatever. I can live with 5:30 for the purpose of the public appearing, but I do think we need to be as efficient as we can in our meetings so that we're not here any later that we need to be, because people do also, even though we're volunteers and we signed up to do this, we didn't sign up to stay till 10:30, 11 at night every time, and it's gotten to where lately we do 10. And it's a good thing in a sense because it shows that there's a lot of activity occurring, but we just have to be efficient to make sure we get out at a decent hour.
I'll ditto what Veronica said. Y'all, I was going to initially go with 4:30. I'm just telling y'all right off the bat, because staying here to 10 o'clock is not what I want to do. But Veronica said the words, efficiency is the way to go. No sidebars, no repeating of information that we should have read in the packet. All of that, we got to come prepared and be about business, because I don't want to be here. I do not want to be here till 10 o'clock at night.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Well, based on Sabrina's and Veronica's, I'm going to go ahead and change my deal to 5 o'clock, see if that works for everybody. I make a motion to have our meetings at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Dan, you okay with that?
I just think that we need to be, trust me, we stay late in city council meetings. We've actually had this discussion. We might even try to meet every Tuesday. It's just we have every meeting we've got, I always say, look, I have to read 2 Bibles today. It's this big. And I will mention, Sabrina, being prepared is a good thing, but also we always want to get things on record. So sometimes even though I know the answer, I'll ask questions to kind of justify and explain my position and the reason I vote certain ways. So sometimes it's hard to avoid, but it's really, trying to be transparent, trying to get it out there on the record. I think 5 o'clock, this still does not go with what the city is trying to put forth through the boards. If the majority wants that, of course.
I know Roland has told me that he'd prefer 5, so I know that's.
I know Roland. Yeah, I'm glad to bring him up because he works in FAR, but I think he gets out at 5.
He told me that
5 would be good.
Yeah, that's what he.
5, so he didn't need 5:30?
He said that 5 would be good, so I'm sure after that would be fine by him as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick to at least 5:30. That'll be my vote. Those are just one vote right now.
5:30.
I make a motion. Can I make a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to say 5 o'clock then. I hear you.
You have a motion?
I'll second the motion.
His is 5 o'clock, so somebody has to second it.
I'll second it.
All right.
Sorry.
All of them in favor, please raise your right hand. We good? Cool. And then, well, one no vote. All right, so motion passes. All right, so 5 p.m. going forward, if we can make sure staff gets on the record. All right, if there's no other business, I'd like to entertain a motion to enter executive session.
So moved.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. It is 4:09 p.m. and we are entering executive session. All right, it is 4:45 p.m. I'll entertain a motion to re-enter executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. No action was taken in executive session. However, agenda item A is going to be back in open session because it did not meet the rules for us to discuss it
No.
in executive. So on discussing the structure of the Economic Development Corporation, my original thoughts were if and when the bylaws get amended, that we would need to have a framework in place to make sure that we were ready and prepared. So I know Blanca had a template in place of kind of what it would look like, and I want to get everybody's thoughts on what they would like it to look like in some of the direction that we would like to have on that framework.
Do we hear first from the board, or?
I wanted to hear what your original frame and thought was on it, because I know you guys have done a lot of research and presented it.
Yes, so based on our research that we've done from other EDCs, thank you, that we've done from other local EDCs, and TEDC has also sent their own research that they've done and compiled for member organizations like ours. We're a member of the Texas Economic Development Council. We recommend, or it's suggested, or typically what we've seen is an executive director level deputy assistant with an admin assistant, with a research analyst, and director level positions, business retention and expansion, foreign investment, small business development. It really comes down to the work that the EDC board wants to see happen in their community. That could be executive director level or CEO or COO. It just depends on what the board would want to see. But that's typically what you see in an EDC across the region here in the Rio Grande Valley or across the state.
So Blanca, you were comparing that to Edinburgh to cities of similar size?
Yes, well, similar sizes across the region, like just as neighboring cities, but also across the state, what the findings were. And luckily, TEDC sent out a compensation and benefits survey. We can pass this along. And I can email this to you for your...
My apologies that we don't have the computers like we normally do.
And this is,
I don't think
I don't have another copy.
We'll share.
I do have it here. So this is from the TEDC organization that they just recently sent, and I just pulled it up for the board to see, but you can see their annual operating budget, number of employees, and then the type of positions. As you can see the CEO/executive director, so it could go both ways, or VP assistant or deputy director, and other professional staff. And then you can gauge the salary ranges throughout the different positions, right? And these were their findings, and it's for populations of 100,000 to 250,000. So to answer Veronica's question, yes, we're within the 100 to 250,000 population.
And the titles that you gave were, I see the CEO, I see the deputy. It was the admin, the research analyst, the international business, small business?
You could do, it depends on the work again, right? The work plan or the strategic plan that the board will have. It could be, the traditional one that you see is business retention and expansion, business development, or small business development, depending on, what the board wants to see. International investment, so it's different positions. And obviously, if you want to work with the city, you can keep the finance director within the city, or you can hire your own. It just depends, right? Every DC is different. They may have their own in-house HR, human resources person or staff, or they may also contract with the city as well. So it depends on, how efficient or how you want to see it set up.
Thank you.
I know it's going to take multiple meetings to get all this out. But I wanted to have this one right now before one in 2 weeks, so we can at least start the conversation everyone's mindset gets there, so we can make action a little sooner than later. So with the salaries you're saying for an executive director or CEO, president, whatever the title would be, the average for our size is 170 on the low end. Do you know how high that and more goes?
It just depends.
So we don't have an actual, we don't, if it's okay.
No, I mean, based on the other cities that we found here in the region, it's public information, was Brownsville. They're over 200,000, 212,000, but their executive director is city deputy as well.
Okay.
So they're doing 2 and 1. But everyone else is below 200,000.
So McAllen is, if you have those numbers, do you?
We
can you
couldn't
share?
find that information from McAllen.
So this is just basically general, 100,000 to 200,000.
Yeah, these are the TEDC's findings, very,
Nothing
their
too ambitious,
ranges,
huh?
yeah,
Probably.
it's a starting point for the board that needs to consider. Obviously, you have to consider qualifications, experience, and obviously negotiation, right? But I think this is a very good neutral TEDC party information for you to review and study moving forward.
I'd like to see a comparison of cities in the Rio Grande Valley so we get a good sense of, maybe we can get that information, do some research, and determine what EDCs across the valley for similar sized cities or with a similar budget to ours, what they're paying their CEO or executive director, and then how many staff they typically have to give us a better idea of what's normal. And then, we can get a good sense of what the state thinks and then what's happening on a regional basis.
Would that be McAllen and Farr?
So that'd be McAllen, Farr, maybe Mission, Westlake, and Westlake smaller. They have had a lot of economic activity. So I think our surrounding cities, the larger cities, and then but Brownsville's a little unique, as you mentioned. And then they also have 2 economic development organizations.
McAllen's different too, yeah, it's set up differently.
They have MEDC, and they're, so Keith has been there for a long time too. And then it'll depend also on years of experience. That'll give us a good idea of entry pay and all that.
If we get that same, I don't know if it's possible to get that same data for not regional, but the same size, this is supposed to be the same size, but the exact same size, because I want to see how the valley is in comparison to, I don't know, Houston area, Dallas area, depending on, obviously meeting our same parameters.
Within the same budget?
Within the same, yeah, because this is the entire state.
Population.
This is the same,
entire
so this is average, so
Population-wise, yeah.
the statewide,
survey they did.
but fits in our
Yeah.
bucket from, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we could be
Yeah.
in there, we were over 100, so yeah, we could.
Yeah,
be.
I'm sure we're in here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're-
So do we know how many cities are in here?
No, but we can find out.
You can find out.
Yeah.
TEDC does those surveys periodically, and whoever wants to participate will participate, and that's where they gather the information
Right.
from.
That's very good.
I think this is good information, but I'm surprised that it's from 100,000 to,
All the way 250.
yeah, that's a big jump. I mean,
Big
it takes
difference.
decades to double your population, and this is
Yeah.
comparing salaries on a very, very general. I think we need our size,
Uh-huh.
our
More
budget,
specific.
and
Yeah, a little bit.
Understand,
And we have
yeah.
polled area EDCs in the past, and they're very private and don't want to share.
Yeah.
But we'll ask for a range, and so they'll give us a range. They're pretty good about saying,
Right.
well, it's between this much and this much.
Which
But
Give you an
is that
idea.
not public information? It is.
It is public
I mean, we can do a public
Yeah.
information request if we needed to get the information.
Yeah, it depends on the EDCs, because like McAllen is set up separately, so they don't fall under that. Brownsville, I don't know that, they have separate ones also.
Yeah, they have the one in the city and then their own. That's
A
separate.
Mission, you could probably get Farr.
Westlake.
Westlake.
I know Westlake
Harlingen.
has reached out to us before when Miss Marie
Mhm.
was left. They were also setting up their staff, and they reached out to our HR department to find their ranges. They
Yeah.
didn't give specific numbers, but they provided ranges to them, so.
So on the process itself, I know that right now all our services are under the city. Are any services that, I don't know, you feel, or Nilda, you feel, should be moved out, should all be moved out. Some stay. I know we talked about the HR. I think the university, everyone kind of likes that one.
You're talking about payroll.
Payroll, sorry,
finance,
payroll,
yeah.
sorry, not HR, I meant payroll.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a service that the city has always provided, and we kind of discussed this because, I don't know, Tom's trying to come in. And that's something that the service that finance has always provided to us.
So you needed it for right now?
Thank you. And we had a verbal agreement at the time, and now, we discussed that everything, should continue under written contract basis. But, so the EEDC staff wouldn't outsource the payroll part of it. They had a verbal agreement since it was created, and the EEDC was created, that the city would prepare all payroll so that the staff could take advantage of the benefits, like the retirement and the insurance part of it, the HR part of it, anything related to human resources. And the EDC would reimburse the city 100% for all of those costs. But there was never a written agreement. And so I think that continuing the written agreement form for those services is a good idea. I mean, you don't have to outsource to someone else that's not familiar with the process. Staff is already familiar with what needs to be done with, the city municipality process. And then you have other services like finances, if they wanted to continue with the city finance department handling that part of it as well, then you could. I mean, it's very different.
Samantha, so when you say continue with the city financing, does that include adopting procurement, or would the board be able to develop its own procurement policies?
Are you talking about for
Like three-price
agreements,
quotes, yeah.
like development agreements, or for
three-price
vendors?
quotes, or booking flights, or anything?
Well, the EDC usually has their own separate policies,
Okay.
but they usually always mirror the city's policies.
Right,
But you have to
yeah.
have separate policies,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it
But
is its
usually
own
it is,
entity.
you adopt what the city has.
Right.
Yeah.
So it mirrors it.
I'm just asking, could that be different?
It
Sure.
could.
I think from a more technical kind of aspect, then the answer is yes. I mean, the EDC can adopt its own procurement policies. The procurement rules that apply to the EDC are different than what apply to the city, so it can have its own. But for administrative ease, I think the city has always applied its procurement policies since it's the one that's administering the service.
Right.
And it would be difficult or potentially burdensome on the finance department
To track.
to have two different policies to work with.
Okay.
But that would be an evaluation on the city side, with the city manager, city management, to determine if that's something that they would like to offer as part of their financial services or not.
Makes sense. Okay. Was there some, not conflict, but was there some challenges with the procurement in reaction to speed? Am I missing something?
I think Blanca can speak to that one.
Yeah, there was some things mentioned about, doing the procurement, but I mean, for the most part, there has to be a level of procurement that has to happen, and it typically mirrors the city for transparency purposes. But I'm not sure if Omar could shed more light on that, if there are exceptions to that, I don't know.
I remember an example that was given by you, I think. You said, what if one of the board members wanted to fly to a city and meet with the EDC or something
One of the
like
staff.
that? One of the staff or something like that? Does the current procurement allow
They
that?
could, yes.
No.
Yeah, they could.
Just want to be sure.
Because I remember I thought someone said that we have to start with you to ask for, or they have to start with you to ask for permission?
Well, first they have to make sure they have the monies in the budget.
Okay.
And then they can use their P card to make sure that, they can book their flights, book the hotel, book everything. And then after that, they just do the paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know Dan likes to say, go to talk to Elon Musk, like if we can get on the plane, right?
To catch up Nelda, I've always had the line, who's the guy that jumps on a plane tomorrow to sell Elon Musk on Edinburgh?
That's
Oh,
That guy,
yeah.
and
And we want to make sure that that's allowed. Yeah, that's basically.
And we've never had a problem in the past, and there's just a process you follow, and as long as you know the process. We just enjoyed it because there was always checks and balances in
Right,
place.
yeah.
And so when you come to the audit, they
Yeah.
always, that's one of the things they check for, is there checks and balances? Is somebody else besides the same person authorizing these expenses, or is somebody else looking at financials that, you're not the
And-
one person doing
And
it?
I have to say, I don't mean guy as in just guy, the guy or gal, but I say guy because when Elon Musk tweeted the day that he tweeted from California that he was unhappy, that day I texted the people that I knew on the council and said, hey, who's jumping on a plane tomorrow? And everyone that I texted, ha ha ha, he wouldn't choose the valley. I said, he is choosing the valley. Austin is too expensive. We have all the land, we have everything. He is choosing the valley.
That's a very valid point, because I think
I knew he was
that
coming
unless
here.
you're seen, out of sight, out of mind type of deal, and unless you go in there, you find people and you strategize to make it known who we are and where we're at. And I think the mayor had a very interesting point when we were in Vegas, is that we've got to be able to show, map where we are, because you'd be surprised that nationwide, we talk about Edinburgh, we talk about McAllen, they don't know where it is. They don't know where the valley is. Unless we have somebody there explain to them what our benefits are or what the pros are,
Right.
and in considering us, then I think until we have something like that, we're going to be out.
Regional marketing.
There it is.
That's what we need.
A regional approach.
And I have one more. Was facilities ever a part of the in-kind contribution? Or did EDC always, because at one time you were at the chamber, and then you were at this building over here. Was that ever a part of in-kind contribution from the city, or was that all, that was EDC?
The chamber, we had rent. We paid rent at the chamber. We owned the other building. When we moved to EDC, it was in kind.
Okay.
We didn't
When you
have-
moved here?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, when we moved to city, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it was in kind. We didn't have any rent. It was council's choice at the time, and so there was not any kind of rent involved.
Okay.
So you got to see, I guess, all the variations now. What, in your mind, would be a good framework for us to say, hey, look, let's go with, like, I liked having XYZ, I didn't like having XYZ, sorry to put you on the spot, but I'm just thinking, we can.
What
help us-
services?
Yeah, what services?
Do you think that we should request that the city,
Oh, from the city?
assists with, and under contract, of course, with the EDC? And then what services do you think really should remain within the purview of the EDC only?
Well, I think that continuing definitely with payroll, finance, the finance department and their services, HR, because they do get public information requests and they're processed through city secretary. HR is a part of it as well. Legal services, of course. I think and I think you do have a separate auditor, right?
No.
You use the city's auditor?
The city actually lined up, or the EDC lined up with the city this time around.
Okay.
So now it's up, I think it's their 3 years are up, so they're going to go out for a new
But yeah, ours
proposal.
queued
Would you
in.
recommend a separate auditor?
In the past, we have always worked with a separate auditor, only because they're auditing EDC books. It was my understanding that it had to be a separate auditor. Or it didn't have to be a separate audit, it just had to be separate. EDC finances had to be separate. I don't know if it was just good practice, or if it was just...
It doesn't have to be a separate auditor, but you're right. I mean, it's got to be a separate audit report.
Audit report, yes.
Yeah. And it has been. It has been.
Yeah.
They have been separate. Yeah,
One
they're
more
not
service I'm
together.
going to ask about that everybody takes for granted. Janitorial service. Did you ever have that? Did you ever have that as a part of your agreement?
Janitorial, like for...
Building maintenance.
Building maintenance.
No.
We never had the city's building maintenance because the EDC owns so many different buildings. They had their own problems in itself, and so we always had contract workers go in and do work as needed. And then if we leased space to anybody, they took care of any kind of maintenance work.
But for EDC offices? Who came and took out your trash?
When we had the corner office, that was probably the only time that we had somebody. We did contract some people that came in maybe twice a week.
Because that was a new issue because
Or 3
before,
times a week,
you hadn't
yeah.
owned anything.
Right,
Yeah, all
right.
these things come up when you start
Yeah.
owning stuff. You're like,
I think one more service I want to mention is maybe IT services
Yeah,
is
IT
another good
services.
service to include with the city because of how it's set up. That used to always be outsourced also.
So whenever you guys were completely out, in your separate building, you know, y'all paid for everything separately, right?
Yeah.
What would you say some of those things that you paid for were not unnecessary, but like, hey, you know what, if we were with the city, we could save some money here?
Well, IT was one. IT was a big one. Legal services was another. That was a big one. What else?
On legal right now, it's, I know we have the $1 million contract, so a portion, like I guess your EDC time gets paid from that? Or how does that work exactly on the separation right now?
Yeah, sure. So I, for my purposes, I submit invoices directly to the city,
Okay.
and I get paid by the city. The city allows the EDC to use my services as well. I don't bill separately for EDC time. I don't get paid separately by the EDC. The city is the one that gets a check from the EDC to go into their general revenue.
For your invoices.
Yeah.
So currently, the city makes the determination of how much of your time was EDC allocated and how much of your time was city, or no?
Okay.
Yeah, no one.
He submits the invoice.
Yeah, no one has put any parameters on me in terms of, you know, how much time I can spend on.
Oh, I just
on
meant like
EDC
your bill. So let's say that your bill, $10,000 a month or whatever, right? And you submitted it to the city, and the city said, well, they do the work and determine that 4,000 of that was dedicated EDC time and 6,000 of it was dedicated to city time. Would they do that, or would you do that, or anything? No?
No, I don't think
No.
that's done, actually, to tell you the
Okay.
truth. I don't think my invoices are separated, right, in terms of that.
But if we are a separate entity, we would have to do that, assuming that we use the same council and stuff, we would have to do that. So or two separate bills being submitted, possibly, yeah.
Because then even if you're still our attorney, we'd be paying you from EDC side, right?
Well, you could, so it depends. It
Or
depends.
reimburse.
Yeah.
Right, so, I
Same thing
mean,
with IT. Like,
I hate talking about myself, but but to guide you all kind of through it, I mean, there's different options. One is you have a direct contract with an attorney to provide legal counsel services, and that attorney is providing invoices with time and entry dates, all those kinds of things, and you pay that attorney directly, right? And there's no money going through or from the city. The other arrangement is to do what's happening now, which is as part of whatever administrative services agreement you enter into the city, if it includes HR, IT, whatever, you can include legal in that. And so legal is just essentially another line item, and whatever it is you're paying to the city.
So possibility, EDC could get a bill from the city with regards to the legal fees for reimbursement.
I mean, it depends on how you would draw up that agreement, right? So if you have an agreement that says, EDC agrees to pay $5,000 a month, for example, to the city, and in exchange we're going to get HR support, financial support, legal support, then that's it. It's just that $5,000 charge every month.
Yeah, that's what, they just transfer from our account on a monthly basis.
No,
Right.
That's what they did.
Do you have a right? You okay?
Yes, I do.
You should.
Thank you.
Right.
I have
Thank-
one more question on office, and then I'm going to drop this bomb and I'm going to leave. Why is the logo on the building over there? Is that where the office is going to be? People laugh, but I want to know.
Yeah, that's where it was supposed to be.
That's where it was supposed to
be.
when-
Supposed to be,
So the
okay.
EDC granted the land for that building, and the original thought was that EDC was going to be housed on the second floor.
Okay.
The EDC at the time gave a lot of input in terms of the finish outs, right, in there with that in mind.
Right,
At some
and I know
point,
it got rented to someone else,
yeah,
but
at
I'm
some point
saying-
that changed.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let the dream go.
Well, for the next 4.5 years,
Let it
yes.
go. Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank
For-
you.
Just for the record, 5:09 PM, Sabrina Walker exited the meeting. I know, Veronica, you have to go as well. Do you have any more comments before?
No, I mean, I just want to say, on the record, I want to thank Blanca for your time and your energies and your dedication to the EDC. We know that it's been a short 2 years, but it's been a very busy 2 years, and we've enjoyed working with you very much. So thank you very much for your service. I want to thank Nelda for stepping in as our interim and bringing your years of experience to the EDC board. And of course, I want to thank our city manager, Myra, for stepping in as our executive director and kind of leading us as we transition over. And I look forward to whatever the city decides it's going to do with the bylaws, so that then we can start to really put together a process of how we're going to move forward. It's going to be a lot, I think. It's going to be a lot. When you start thinking about IT, HR, payroll, just I mean, offices, computers, everything, right? We all have jobs, and so we are going to need, we're going to need to have someone to help us with sorting all that out. And then also then determining adequate pay, adequate benefits for a executive director or CEO, staffing, all that. We're going to need a good framework and then job descriptions and then put it out, because we're going to want to be as competitive as we can be so we can get, all kinds of applicants, and then we have a great choice. I think the city has a lot to offer, the EDC has a lot to offer, and of course we want to get the best. So I look forward to it, but I know it's going to be a lot, and I think we're going to need to really, as soon as we have bylaws, we're going to need to sit down again and really figure out how we're going to move forward.
I agree with you. That's why I wanted to start the conversation, assuming that it happens. And if it doesn't, well, we get to hang out with each other for an extra hour of our time. And Blanca, I want to say the same thing. Thank you very much. We appreciate everything you've done over the last 2 years. Hope you moving on to greener pastures, and we appreciate everything you've done. Nelda, thank you for taking the baton so quickly. And I know a lot of us have been caught up with many things. So if you ever need anything, always call us. Let us know. We can move quicker. And Myra, you've been here for a while now, so you're 99% caught up. So, but as always, obviously, if we need anything else, we're always here.
Yes.
Thank you, Blanca. In case I don't see you between now and Friday, good luck with your future, man. And I feel good about the experience that we have staying on, okay, in helping the EDC. I feel very confident with that, and I think we'll continue to make Edinburgh great. Okay?
I agree.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Nolan. Thank you, Myra. And thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Blanca. I thanked you in executive, but I'll do it out here in the open. Past 2 years, you guys have done really good, and like I said, I was even more impressed with how we took on that conference. We had teams attacking different vendors, and our booth was the it booth. Everyone that passed by, people actually went out to look for us. So it was a great job, and I wish you luck in everything that you're going to go try and get in this world. Okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you have any comments on framework or future before we?
No, I just think that I think that we need to move quickly on what the structure of the relationship with EDC and the city, and we move fast to find an executive director, whatever title that may be, and I feel confident with what we have in place now that we'll keep to use Ronnie's word, keep the ship moving forward. Meanwhile, working in the background to set it up how we want.
I agree. Anything else?
We're good.
No. Anybody else have any more questions, comments? That might be our fastest EDC meeting ever. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
So, all in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 5:14 p.m.